Who said Christmas ends in December? What is going on for Victims and Villains? My name is Josh, and today we are celebrating the Blu-ray release of A Creature is Stirring, which you can pick up from yourself from our friends over at Wellgo Entertainment this Tuesday, February 13th. A Creature Was Stirring tells the story of a mother, played by Chrissy Metz, who has some unexpected home invaders during a snowstorm while she's trying to take care of her sick daughter, and how the two worlds collide. Creature Was Stirring is one of those movies that the less you know about it, the better the movie actually is. Now, don't get me wrong, I've seen my fair share of creature feature films before, and normally creature feature films are those types of movies, with the exception of The Babadook, where it is largely popcorn film, and Creature definitely fits more along the lines of Babadook than it does those popcorn films, and that's what really impressed me most about this movie. And I think a large portion of what really carries this movie for me from start to finish is the impeccable performance from Chrissy Metz. Now, I'm not a fan of This Is Us. I kind of missed that boat. Dramas really aren't my cup of tea in terms of television. But after watching Metz in this performance, I understand all of the rave reviews I heard about her in that series. Metz has a really transformative approach to her acting of this character, and I think that is kind of really what allows this film to be as heavy thematically as it is, as hard-hitting as it is, but also allows those creature feature elements to really pop. I also really love how ambiguous this movie is. I compared this movie earlier to The Babadook, and I think that's a perfect assessment, especially when you're looking at the ratio between creature feature, the horror elements of this, and the drama elements. I think the two balance really well together and play off each other really well. Scout Taylor-Compton is another great performance in this, and Scout, every performance I've ever seen from her, even if it's a crappy movie, she always just manages to bring a great performance, and Creature is absolutely no different. Annalisa Basso, who plays Metz's daughter in this, also another powerhouse performance. I really like the tension that is woven between Metz and her, and some of the more vulnerable scenes that she has with other cast members. If I had to have a problem with this movie, it's definitely how it's paced. It definitely, in the larger grand scheme of things, coming out of how this movie ends and how the ending kind of changes certain elements of the movie, I definitely would say that the pacing of this movie feels a little bit more appropriate, but when you're watching it and going in blind, the pacing is definitely going to be one of those things that you really have to kind of pay attention to, and also at the same time can really just make the movie feel like it's dragging, where there are certain elements that go very fast and are very heavy with the horror, but some of the dramatic beats are very slow. But stick with it. I promise it is worth it. And the pacing overall, it doesn't become a problem by the end, but the first two acts feel very kind of messy with its pacing. I love that this is a movie that is going after practical effects, and you can definitely feel some of the budgetary restraints here. There is one place in particular where you see those restraints, and they are glaringly apparent. But overall, I think the creature feature effects here are done really well. I think the use of shadows surrounding the creature also really draw you in and make you want to see this. Not to mention that creature features are typically, dinosaurs or, giant insects. And this is a refreshing spin on that genre also from that angle, because I guarantee that you've probably never seen a creature feature like this. And if you have seen it, it was probably played for laughs, whereas this one is played very seriously, and you kind of understand it in the larger context of how the film ends. This movie looks beautiful, by the way. Like, it has very much a color palette on par with Mandy or Color Out of Space. But honestly, this movie and how it just kind of frames certain shots and how the camera fluidity and how certain colors land the way that they do, this reminded me of 2006's remake of Black Christmas. Now, say what you will about that movie. Some people are going to love it. Some people are going to hate it. But I think at the end of the day, we can all agree that that movie looks very good. It has a very distinct visual signature that even almost 20 years later, it has stayed with us. And in that same vein, that's what Creature does. Creature has just very vibrant greens and blues and purples, and they all just mesh really well together, especially the greens in certain portions of this film. And I love the fact that there is an emphasis on that, because it really adds into not only a very unique visual style for the film, but also at the same time some of the film's more ambiguous elements. All right, let's run this one through the Rorschach rating scale. I'm going to go ahead and give A Creature Was Stirring a 4 out of 5. I think this movie is a very, very strong creature feature. I think this movie is a compelling drama. I think the performances in this movie are really well. The colors really pop. But even more than that, I think it is just what the film says and how it is an overarching allegory for addiction and the recovery process that I think is just fantastic and really beautiful. A Creature Was Stirring is going to be available this upcoming Tuesday on the 13th of February from Well Go Entertainment. Click the link in the description below to check it out. I am going to talk about mental health this upcoming Tuesday on the film, because I will get into spoilers. And again, to emphasize my point from before, the less you know about this movie, the better it's going to be. So make sure that you guys hit that subscribe button, check out the movie, and come back to talk about mental health of A Creature Was Stirring. Until next time, have a good night.